Welcome.
Morning, Chair, Board, Comment. Before I get to my testimony on this, I want to remind you that Fred Hansen on his departing board meeting decided the accountants or actuarials assessment that there was a $50 million liability per year not being paid toward other post-employment benefits. I heard the dancing around the issue, but the number is enormous, and certainly the board has known and TriMet has known for many years that this imminent liability was going to service and swallow up large portions of operation revenue in order to fund these other post-employment benefits. I'm glad you got John Charles' email, some good information in there. This resolution was deferred to November meeting and is now back again today with little warning. The price or value is still not in the resolution. PortlandMaps.com shows that the Alpha property was purchased a year ago by Alpha for $2.373 million. And the assessor lists the real market value at $2.741 million. So I hope that the purchase of the property is somewhere in the reasonable real market value today, a year later in this economy. The other options regarding this resolution, the board claims that the board may not elect to adopt this resolution. However, because of its location and project design, full acquisition of an Alpha property cannot be avoided. In addition, if TriMet does not acquire the Alpha property early, it will cause further financial hardship to Alpha. A later purchase of the property may not afford sufficient time to facilitate relocation of Alpha's business, thereby jeopardizing the project construction schedule. Alpha's already vacated the building. There is no concern about relocation. They've moved into the new building. And the better option would be to cancel the project and allow the property to go back to the real market to be marketed in the environment where there's no risk of condemnation for a project that's ill-conceived. General Manager McFarland continues to claim that TriMet only heard the 50% revision by the feds in late July. Well, we know it's well documented that TriMet knew in 2008 and again in 2009 that the 50% limitation was going to be held firm and that the gap was well known. There was also an additional gap prior to the 50% from the 60% reduction that TriMet was facing. This speaks to the insolvency of the financing plan to the Milwaukie Light Rail. TriMet has to be tone deaf to have not noticed the loss of public support. Every recent news story and commentary where there's comments allowed or local blog threads has comments overwhelmingly opposed to this project, especially in terms of the financing. There is no doubt that this is the worst project and the worst timing, the most irresponsible and reckless financing in Oregon history. In South Waterfront, the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee voted unanimously twice to oppose the taking of the second $10 million after the first $10 million was taken without asking. These votes were then not conveyed to the PDC commissioners or city council. And there's no guarantee that money will actually arrive. With the uprising that's happening out in the citizenry. Clackamas County will not be getting their share from urban renewal tax increment financing. I can tell you now in the review that there's a wide and growing alliance that is going to prevent that from happening, including taxing jurisdictions, unions, and many people in the public sector. Businessmen, there's going to be, if it takes a voter initiative process, it's going to happen. I was at a Clackamas County Fire District meeting Monday night, and the chair of Clackamas County, Lynn Peterson, was there and stated this is not the first time she stated this, there's no other way for them to get funding. She made it perfectly clear, it's on audio tape, and this is what they're relying on for their $25 million share. An Oregonian editorial wrote this week, times are tough, the economy is a mess, but voters can't restore this state by crippling long-term funding for the things they love most about Oregon. If it were possible to take part of the $87 million for parks and use it to help schools stay afloat next year, we'd reluctantly urge a no vote on Measure 76, but it's not. In this environment where the concern is such, where's the same concern for TriMet beginning to spend what will be $400 million out of the state lottery revenue to pay off their $250 million bonds? Not only will those millions not be available for maintaining infrastructure, schools, and parks, but many other millions will be diverted to spend on Milwaukie Light Rail. We can stop Milwaukie Light Rail. Besides the $400 million to pay off that $250 million lottery-backed bonds, plans intend on taking $55 million from Portland Basic Services to pay off their $30 million share. $70 million will come from TriMet's own future operating revenue to pay off their $40 million share. $200 million will be drained from Metro's future transportation infrastructure funding appropriation. $42 million will be taken from Clackamas County basic services budgets if they were able to be successful for their tax increment financing scheme. $9 million will come from Milwaukie to pay off their $5 million share. And there's the $750 million federal share, all borrowed and adding to the national debt. The feds are going to have a problem with your application, and the November election is going to certainly make some huge changes at ODOT, the governor's office, and many other things. I mean, it's staggering for me to watch this over years and unfold, and watch JPAC last week, where there's representation from every conceivable government entity, including TriMet. And there's absolutely nowhere can be detected any concern for where the money comes from, how much the project costs, or the effects of taking the money. It's quite staggering to watch this. And, you know, the misrepresentation at so many levels, and here we are arriving at a point where the general manager says November is going to be the tipping point, and the board's presumably going to move forward. This resolution is the beginning of spending more millions of dollars on a train wreck. When it gets down to when the financial reporting is going to require the liability of benefits to actually be recorded on the accounting, you're going to be forced to address it. And you're going to be facing the simple fact that you're either going to pay the benefits or the bonded debt for TriMet or services. And you know what's going to happen last? Services. And you won't be able to fully function a bus service, and the writing's on the wall. And I think you people know it. And behind the scenes, there's a deep concern about that. I saw it in Lynn Peterson's testimony to the fire district, and you're going to have to back up and simply kill this thing. And so knowing that Alliance out there that's going to be obstructing the success of this project, as well as other work to prohibit the use of the streetcar, I offer you, the opportunity here to save some face and simply surrender. And you're facing insurmountable financial and public opposition. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Any further questions?